things happen. But we're here tonight. We're here tonight, and that's the most important thing. Yeah. So I want to welcome you to Warehouse Number One Overproof Rums and Legendary Marks Tastings. I got a couple of guys here to my side that you can't see, but they'll be participating with me throughout the evening. One of the gentlemen is his name is Michal. He was with me on Jamaica, so we'll be sharing some great memories of our trip there. And the other guy, he and I, we grew up almost right across the street from each other, but didn't know each other there. We met in Prague. We've been friends for 30 years. He too has been to Jamaica, Jamaica, Queens, but that's in New York City. Yeah, we could talk about that another time. Hey, listen, again, thank you all for joining. We have some terrific rums to talk about. We have fantastic Jamaican rums. I want to give you the short sales pitch that I put out there, and this is for you distributors and importers in the room. Demanding rum enthusiasts continue to seek new dimensions within the category for a deeper experience, something that they can understand better. And most of the famous rums from Jamaica, or for that matter, anywhere in the world, can't provide the daring new angles that we independent bottlers can, perspectives and taste profiles. Warehouse Number One rums, all at 63% ABV, bring authentic Jamaican overproof rum to global markets. Fresh, unaged distillates and young aged distillates that are delicious and diverse, opening new windows to rum enjoyment in its purest state. That's what me and the marketing department put together. So now let's talk a little bit about Jamaican rum. Let's talk about Jamaica in general. So if you take a look at the map I have here, you'll see the 6 distilleries that are still in existence. And by the way, we will be drinking, I guess if I look at the map, we're going to be drinking from south to north and then from east to west. Yeah, because we usually land in Kingston, then we go to Worthy Park, we get up to Hamden and Long Pond, and then back down to the Appleton Estate. So you can see here the 6 distilleries that are still in operation and in existence. We are working with all 6 of them. We have rums from all of them. And actually, our first rum will be from the New Yarmouth Estate. And we're very proud to say that we're one of the few independent bottlers that are working with New Yarmouth for their high ester rums. A lot of people have the column still rums, and you see a lot of the 1994 bottles, the aged stuff that's coming from Sheer and Maine rum. Those are fantastic bottles, but we have the fresh stuff, the Winston Kennedy. We'll talk about that in a minute. Jamaican overproof rums, goodness and purity from Jamaica. These simple but very true words were passed on to me by a late night reveler who must have hit me up for money about 15 times. And every time it was a different story. It was for his mother in the hospital. It was for his brother who needed shoes. But at the end of the night, it didn't matter. He didn't get the money, but we kept on drinking. A typical local rum bar deep in the hills above Ocho Rios. Yeah, because Jamaicans, they drink overproof. Overproof with ting, overproof with coconut water, overproof with ginger beer, overproof with juice, or just overproof all by itself. The idea for the Warehouse Number One rums came to me. A little bit of background. I met Joyce Spence for the first time in 2018, and I was asked to become the ambassador for Appleton Estate Rums in the region, which I did. And on my first trip to Jamaica, I was gobsmacked by the amount of amazing rums that I had never heard of before. I had traveled to Jamaica as a young man, but for other reasons, and I can't talk about them here. I think the statute of limitations hasn't expired yet. So I get to Jamaica and we're having a great time. And I thought, we should take some of these rums that have never made it outside of the distillery walls, that are only used for blending, and bring them in their pure state to people in Europe, because European rum geeks are like no others. There's no doubt about that. So where did we start? We started with our friends in Loitas Vale. We started with a WPE, Worthy Park Extra, and the response was so positive that we actually had to reissue the bottling at Christmas time. Then in 2022, we were the first, other people have done it since, but we were the first to release Worthy Park cane juice nectar, a cane juice based expression that was experimental, but it now is something that not only Worthy Park offers, but some other people that we all know. Danish guy, yeah, Indian Danish guy. Anyway, That's a story for another day as well. So we have the CJN, which, by the way, Chris reminded me to tell you all, placed second in the daiquiri contest last year and is a fantastic, fantastic rum to make daiquiris with. So if you take a look at the screen here, you'll see the three musketeers of Jamaican rum. The guy all the way to the left is Yiji Rabel. He is the commercial director and co-owner of Ultra Premium Brands, who are my partners in this project. The guy in the middle is the only guy around that makes me look skinny. My dear friend Joshua. And he was my connect to Worthy Park. Yeah, without these guys, none of it would be possible. And here we are at the gates of the New Yarmouth estate, owned and operated by J. Ray and nephew. And what they do, by the way, the name of the village is called Give Me a Bit. And what they'll do is they'll tease you. They say, you want to come in? And they won't let you in because nobody, not Ian Burrell, nobody gets in. I have asked Joy. I have asked David Morrison. I've climbed up the ladder at Campati. Nobody gets in. Rumor has it that people don't get in because they don't want to see what else is being distilled there. There's a possibility that some of the lesser brand vodkas and gins that are sold on Jamaica are actually being distilled there. But that, you didn't hear it from me. Yeah, it's only a rumor. So we come to our first rum of the night. Yeah, one of the most rare marks off of Jamaica, New Yarmouth WK. Right? We're going to drink it raw in its raw state, but we have 1,000 liters or so aging. So stay tuned for that. Let me tell you a little backstory on the NYEWK. Stands for New Yarmouth. Of course, New Yarmouth has been around since the 1700s. The history of all of the different owners of New Yarmouth is pretty amazing. It includes a family called the Lindos, and the Lindos' daughter married a British soldier by the last name of Blackwell. Yeah, that Blackwell, Chris Blackwell. Chris Blackwell, at the age of 18, found a Rastafarian, or rather, a Rastafarian found him after he wrecked his boat and turned him on to Rastafarian music. He became a DJ, became one of the more, I don't know, more famous people from Jamaica. And of course, for his mother's family at that time, they owned New Yarmouth, Appleton, and Clarendon. Yeah. So there's everything on Jamaica is intertwined. Yeah. Out of many people, one, just like it says on their flag. Winston Kennedy, who this mark is named after, worked in the Jamaican sugar industry for almost a half a decade. Started out at the Barnett Sugar Estate in Montego Bay. Now the Barnetts owned Vale Royal, they owned Cambridge, they owned Tilston Estate. They were real serious players back in the turn of the century. But of course, as a lot of these smaller distilleries disappeared and were absorbed by the larger ones, the Barnetts also finished their interest. But Winston Kennedy was promoted to the factory manager at the Hamden Sugar Factory in Duncan's, right next to the Long Pond Distillery. And we kind of lose track of him as the years go by. There's a lot of missing entries because we don't really quite know. But we do know that the people at New Yarmouth Estate decided he was important enough to name a rum after him. And by the way, that rum is no longer being made. So your first sample that you're going to drink tonight, the NYEWK, is actually the last NYEWK because I own all of it. So go ahead. We're going to be drinking from left to right. Go ahead with your first sample, the NYEWK Winston Kennedy. Now, let's have an opportunity. By the way, I hope you all enjoy those beautiful cards that we sent with the sets. Yeah, it's kind of like Pokemon for rummers. And this first rum, the NYEWK.
Robert,
Yes.
I need to mention one thing, because everyone who got the sample sets told me that this was one of the prettiest sample sets I ever sent to them, and this is not very good information for me because I'm doing that 3 years.
I told you we're gonna make it. It's gonna get tougher and tougher. Broadcast studios, pretty presentations, sexy presenters. You're done. You're done.
Exactly.
Take it over. Anyway, thank you all very
Okay.
much. I want the founder of UPB. His name is Jakub Janacek, and he's a graphic designer. He designed those cards, and they're really quite beautiful. And I I I love the fact that you enjoy them, and I hope you enjoy the rums as much as you enjoy the presentation of the bottles. And each of the logos, we'll talk a little bit about the etiquettes as well. The NYEWK was the second rum of our first series of four. We started with HLCF, then it was NYEWK. The third was oh my goodness. The third was Anteca, I want to say, and the fourth was STCE. Yeah, so that was the original set. We'll get into the second set, which we call the Jamaican Legends set, or a little bit later. All right, so let's take this first sample out. Yeah, the raw materials of this. Remember, there's no information that comes out of New Yarmouth, so we are speculating at best. We do know, of course, that it's a molasses-based rum. Perhaps there's some cane juice vinegar, maybe muck and dunder in the fermentation process. We don't know because we have to speculate everything. When I asked Joyce Spence or David Morrison about it, they just laugh and deflect, laughed and deflect. They're perfect at it. They're very seasoned at it. We do know it's a heavy pot still rum. So if you swirl that in your glass, I mean, this is a fresh rum, but it still has plenty of legs. It's a definitely heavy pot still. So let's nose it. And I don't know, Chris, if you want to go ahead and turn people's microphones back on because I'd like to get some feedback from them. On the nose, I'm drinking out of a big glass, so on the nose for me, I definitely get that initial industrial kind of acetone, but something sweet on top, kind of that burnt sugar, like a little bit like cotton candy or overripe banana peel. Ah, alrighty. Well, ladies, who I hope are out there, and gentlemen, to all of you, thank you for joining me tonight. Let's have our first sample. Gentlemen, cheers.
Cheers.
To you.
Cheers.
Rzadko się zdarza taka petarda na początek, co?
Szczególnie jak się ma co opijać.
No,
A, Przemój, do tego wrócimy, słuchaj, kochany. Także tutaj na spokojnie, nie?
Dlatego tylko taka lekka nuta, nie?
no ten jest w porządku, bardzo. A to początek.
Ale moc jest.
So this is just like a beginning. So the rest will be only greater. Everyone has great.
Everyone is as great as the one before, but the last one for sure is definitely the best, or my favorite. Let me put it that way. But the thing is, every time we drink one of these, for me, I take a trip back to Jamaica. I take a sip of this, and immediately I'm transported back to the last place I drank it on Jamaica, and that's what we're doing right now. We're taking through these liquids. We're taking a trip across Jamaica. Right now, we're in the southern parish of Clarendon, and we're just a short distance away from the Clarendon distilleries in the village of Gimme a Bit. And Clarendon is actually located in Lioneltown, which, by the way, if you didn't know, Ian is from Lioneltown. He doesn't tell many people that. You heard it here first. So I'd like to know what you guys think. I know everyone is going to get better, but tell me a little bit about what you taste on your palate. Don't be shy.
For me, at the nose, it's mostly papaya and mango.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
and the taste is absolutely beautiful. I would say with this kind of rums, I sometimes even better enjoy taking a smell than, than sipping. It's absolutely intoxicating.
It's funny because I'm working on a secret project. I can't tell you more than the fact other than I'm working on it in my kitchen. And my wife comes home and she goes, "You've been working on the rum project again, haven't you?" Because the entire house is full of this. Because when I'm working on different recipes, deciding what to do next, I'm sampling the 86%, which I don't recommend. I know there are distributors out there that have the 86%. If you buy it, be very careful. Drink too much of it. Your kidneys won't hurt now, but 20 years from now. When I was a kid, when I was a teenager, the old guys would say, "Yeah, be careful, kid. You're gonna regret that when you get older." And I didn't believe them. But now I'm older. They were right. So I'm telling you, be careful with the full strength. It's delicious, but do be careful. 63% gives you it's the ABV is high enough where you have the intensity of the flavor, but it's also robust enough, a little bit lower than the 86, and it gives you a kind of a wider taste profile. Of course, you can add a couple of drops of water and even widen the taste profile more. Or, as we're going to do here in a little while, is you can mix a pretty damn good cocktail with it. Yeah. Because as much as I like to drink this stuff straight, it makes a kick-ass cocktail. So let's go ahead and move on with our presentation. I appreciate that. We're going to leave the south end of the island, Clarendon Province. We're going to travel back towards Kingston through Spanish Town, and we're going to head up the A1 to the beautiful, beautiful Loidas Vale. Off the main highway, we travel for about 45 minutes, trying not to get run over by sugarcane hoppers, and we reach the glorious Worthy Park Estate. It's like heaven on earth. Yeah, it's so gorgeous. And the people there are real characters. The guys who work there, they're all very nice. They're very polite. They're friendly, and they really are something special. Here's one of those cane hoppers. Now, when you're driving on one of these very, very thin roads that has cliffs on one side and hills on the other, big potholes in the middle, and this guy comes around the corner, he's not going to stop. It's up to you to figure a way to let him get around you. The Worthy Park Estate is actually the oldest sugar estate in Jamaica, 1641 or 1741 rather. Yeah, and this is their beautiful Forsyth double retort pot still. They only opened their visitor center. In fact, the first time that I visited Worthy Park in 2019, there was no visitor center, and they wouldn't let us in. But we, of course, didn't take no for an answer. So we came back again and again and have visited every year, which, by the way, this is something we can do offline. I do take visitors every year for rum tourism. We visit all of the different distilleries on Jamaica. Fortunately, the access that I have provides you something more than what most tour guides can give you. So we go from the beautiful Forsyth's pot still, and if you look at the top of the second retort, yeah, you'll see it's a mini column still. So if they want to do a column still rum, they run it very quickly through the gooseneck into the first retort, into the second retort, and then up into the column still, and they can get the higher ABV and more fruity, or not rather the more flowery and sweet tones from I guess you would call it a hybrid column still. This just made me laugh because, it says right there, it says butt number 12, butt number 13. So it's a rum butt. Yeah, and I don't know, maybe it's the Beavis and Butthead in me, but I just couldn't hold back. Oh, it's a rum butt. Yeah, so when you hear somebody say, I've got a buttload of something, that's, I think, where it came from. Now, our rums spend about 48 hours in these rum butts to be kind of consolidate and firm up. Then they put them into the tanks you see on the side, the travel tanks. Those are 1,000 liters. Yeah. And then they have the bigger tanks, the ISO tanks, which are 25,000 liters. Here's our first rum that we put out, the WPE. And next to it is the next rum that we're going to taste, which is the River Muma. Let me tell you about the River Muma. The River Muma is basically, well, it's part of our Jamaican folklore series. The River Muma is basically the Jamaican version of Medusa of sorts. She's the goddess of all the fresh waters in Jamaica, and she rises up out of the riverbank. And if you see the rivers in Jamaica, they're beautiful, crystalline, clear water surrounded by jungles. It's pristine. 96% of the island is green and beautiful. So the River Muma rises up out of these crystalline waters and sits on a golden table, combing her hair with the golden comb and attracting men. The men fall into the water and they're consumed by the River Muma. In fact, there was a television series, and I don't know if many of you or any of you have seen this. It was called American Gods. And in that, there was a woman of color, and she was actually an incarnation of the River Muma. But I digress. Yeah, we're not here to talk about TV series. We're here to talk about rum. Now, as Chris reminded me, last year we were very proud that this rum placed number 2 out of 50 rums in the daiquiri contest in 2023. So let's head on to our second sample, warehouse number one, WPCJN, otherwise known as Cane Juice Nectar, the River Muma edition. Now, when we talk about the fermentation process, it's a short fermentation. It's only 30 hours. But what's interesting about this is it's not an esterific rum, but it's in essence a Jamaican agricola, because it's made from fresh cut sugarcane that's crushed. So it's cane juice nectar. It's not molasses based. So let's pick up that second sample. Oh, and right away you can smell the grassiness of the sugarcane. And this, when those big cane hoppers come by you on the mountain roads, that's what you smell. That's it. Or when you travel down into the valley and you're working your way towards the distillery. That's the amazing smell of it. And again, you swirl this rum around and you hold it up to the light. You can see that it's an unaged rum, but it has legs. Yeah. In fact, it has second legs. Yeah, my light's a little bit too bright here, but it's a very heavy pot still rum. Yeah, so let's go ahead and enjoy this together. But can I make a recommendation? Don't pour your entire sample into your glass. Save about half of it, because later on we're going to talk about cocktails, and I think that you would be remiss if you didn't have the opportunity to try some of these rums in a cocktail form. So, again, na zdrowie to you guys. Na zdraví. Cheers.
Cheers.
Na zdrowie.
Zdrowie.
Co myślicie o tym? What do you think, guys, about that?
Now, as I told you in the beginning of the presentation, everything that is good and pure from Jamaica. I want to put this on ice cream. I want to put this in my breakfast cereal. I want to put it in my coffee. I want to bathe in it. Yeah, it's the intensity, but the freshness of it is incredibly unique. And it's interesting, as I mentioned earlier, we were the first people to bottle this. Yeah, this came out and they weren't really sure whether or not they would take it to market. We knew right away that it was something special. So we got it to market first. And then Joshua and the gang from 1423 did their version, a lower ABV version, which is very good. I'm not going to take anything away from it. He's one of my best buddies and they do great work. And then Zan Kong said, wait a second, why are these independent bottlers capitalizing on this incredible rum that we made an experiment with? So they made the new Worthy Park Overproof, which is set to replace Rum Bar everywhere except on the island of Jamaica. And so they use a WPL and the WPCJN. Now, imagine this in a daiquiri, a little bit of lime juice, or perhaps a touch of pineapple juice, something that would complement that sweet, citrusy sugarcane flavor. Any notes from you guys?
Yeah, green apples.
Yeah, absolutely. The tartness,
Eating apples.
tartness of a fresh cut green apple. What about you guys here in the studio?
It has a real buttery character in the finish.
Absolutely. I don't know if you could hear what Alan was saying. He says there's a very buttery overtone, and that's true, because when you nose it, it's creamy kind of. I'm getting goosebumps. It's a very good sign. By the way, Alan is a chef, so I want to ask. I mean, I had a friend of mine who has a bakery in Vermont, and she made banana bread with this.
Yeah, I was gonna say it smells the first nose, and also the first nose and the finish. It's very much like doing a winter dessert where you saute banana or pineapple in butter.
Interesting.
That's what I'm getting most strong.
What about using this in Christmas cookies or
Absolutely. Christmas cookies, anything coconut, anything pineapple, anything banana.
ginger as well?
Absolutely. It'll marry very well with ginger. Or even something like a pernik here, the gingerbread, you could put a splash of this.
Now you see that we not only bring you the way to drink rum, we also bring you the way to cook with rum. Yeah. So think about that. If you're when you're cooking your Christmas baked goods, try this. A little bit of this goes a long way in a gingerbread or something like that. Michal, what about you? What do you think?
Whenever I smell this, it takes me back to the Ada File when I was there
Yeah,
with you 2 years ago.
absolutely. That's it.
Jamaican trip.
That's one of the beauties about traveling to Jamaica, whether you do it with me or with somebody else. Once you do, every time you drink Jamaican rum, you're immediately transported back again. Yeah. So think about it. Yeah, it's such an amazing island, and you could be there for a half a year and not see even a third of what there is to see. We don't need to see the touristy things. We don't do that. We do deep dives into local bars and places where tourists never see. But that's something we can talk about at a later date. Any more comments from our Polish comrade? Yeah. What about you guys? What do you think?
I like this rum much because it's fruity, it's sweet, it's excellent. I know your similar rum, WPE, 2 years aged. I drink it in Prague last summer, and it also was wonderful.
Thank you.
This
Thank you.
this style, it's very, very good for me. I don't feel the alcohol. The alcohol is well hidden. It's light rum.
Yeah,
When I drink it, it's light rum.
it's balanced.
63,
It's balanced.
63, it's not a light rum, but it's
Pedro.
very drinkable. It's very easy.
Well, it's accessible because it's I mean there's an old expression in the recording industry, and it's a little bit vulgar, but I'm going to say it anyway. If it's shit going in, it's shit coming out. It doesn't matter what you're saying into the microphone. If you're not saying it properly, it's not going to sound good on the other side. And that's the same thing when you're talking about good distillates. I mean, Worthy Park to date is the only Jamaican distillery that still uses 100% of their own sugarcane. All right, so they know exactly what is going into the product, and they know exactly what's coming out. Elsewhere on Jamaica, they have the Jamaican Sugar Camorra, the Jamaican Sugar Exchange, and everybody has to sell their sugarcane to this exchange. It was taxed, and they buy it back at a higher price. That's how the Jamaican government collects their taxes. But again, all of these stories, there's so many things I can share about Jamaica because it's such a fascinating place. But we need to move on because the clock on the wall tells me I have an hour and 28 minutes, and we have so much room to carry. And here we go. Look, you can see I do a lot of tough research when I go to Jamaica. I got to sit on the balcony on the beach with all these bottles of rum, but I'm doing it for you. Don't forget, I'm doing it for you, not for myself, just for you. And then we go up into the hill. Then we go up into the hills. We sample these Jamaican.
Robert, I always say the same. I do it for all of the people, not for me, not for me. Yeah.
For you. I'm sacrificing.
Everyone said about me that it's the poor guy. The poor guy. You have to drink rum.
Our heroes, our heroes.
Well, here you go. Look at the sacrifice that I have to go through sometimes. Sometimes I gotta have 2-3 bottles at the same time. But you know what?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible.
We marched on. We sacrificed to make sure.
Joshua looks also very tired.
Yeah.
Yes.
The
Well,
guy with the 3 bottles change it in the girl. Yes, after 3 bottles.
So
Change it.
we march on. We leave St. Catherine's Parish, where Worthy Park is located, and we traveled up to St. Anne's. That's where Joshua is in that picture there. The girl's name is Chrissy, by the way. She's the head bartender of this bar called the Willow Tree, and it's well, for lack of a better word, it's a dangerous place. But you know what? If you're with the right people, you act the right way. If you don't act like a jerk, people treat you with respect. You treat them with respect, and everything's fine. Yeah, so that's why we're able to do what we do on Jamaica because we have respect for the people and they love us for what we do for them. So we leave St. Anne's and now we travel from Ocho Rios across the top of the island, what they call the tourist corridor, to the parish of Trelawney and the home of the Hampden Estate. At this point, I'm going to ask my colleagues if they can go out and bring us the next two rums. Yeah. And there's going to be a little bit of background noise because the studio is going to be open as they go out into the lobby, but we'll continue to talk. So here's the Hampden Great House. Yeah, it's an absolute honor. I made a deep connection with the Hussey family. And last year, the previous year, and the year before that, every year after COVID, I've had the joy of being able to stay at the Great House, which when you visit, it's amazing. And I can take you on visits deep into the distillery that other people can't. But to be able to stay there and wake up early in the morning and all those peacocks and pheasants that are wandering around during the day, they're not there. They're up in the trees. You get these giant birds sleeping up in the trees. The fog is set in, but the sound of the distillery continues. All righty. So, guys, we just got to be careful here because the microphone that we're working with tonight is in the table, and I don't make enough money to pay for it. Okay, so I digress. Let's continue on. So here you are. Here's the geography. The Hampden Estate is in Trelawney. It's in the northwest part of Jamaica. It's located in the Queen of Spain Valley. The Queen of Spain Valley is the sixth largest natural aquifer in the Caribbean. Trelawney faces the Caribbean with the fertile plains in the north and the cockpit country that Appleton Estate talks about so often to the south. It's unspoiled mountainous area. It's absolutely beautiful virgin territory. Hampden's water supply is a spring, a dam, is piped to the distillery. It's about 7 kilometers from the distillery, and it's actually travels through the old Tilston Estate, the Tilston Estate of Tekka and Tech B and Tech C fame, which we'll talk about a little bit later. All righty, let's give you a brief history. Hampden has been producing full, intense, flavorful, heavy pot still rums since the mid-1700s. Mr. Archibald Sterling of Scotland was the owner of the estate. He built the Hampden Great House in 1779, just the bottom floor. It served as the rum house, the storing house. By 1767, Hampden was producing about 50,000 liters, which was all exported to England and Scotland. In 1852, George McFarquhar Lawson bought the estate. And in 1875, unfortunately, George passed away. His nephew, Dermot Owen Kelly, remember that name, Dermot Owen Kelly, inherited the estate. In 2009, Everglades Farm Limited, owned by the Hussey family, acquired the estate. Hampden's process was well preserved and now maintained. They very meticulously make sure that the tradition of rum production is the same as it was 200 years ago. Hampden continues to honor their relationships with bulk rum buyers, which is where the majority of the rum that they make goes, about 95% of it. You'll find it in Chanel No. 5 perfume. You'll find it in just about every chocolate confection that has rum in it. It's a Hampden rum or Worthy Park rum. You'll find it in skin lotions because it's so aromatic that it's something you can add to just about any product and it will enrich the aroma of it. So in 2010, the first bottle of Rum Fire was bottled. In 2018, Luca showed up. He did his dance. Oh my God, I love this place. Somebody, and he bought all of the aged stocks that they have. He's re-signed his contract. Sauvelier and La Maison de Whiskey will continue for the next 10 years, being the exclusive partner for aged expressions. In 2018, Hampden launched their own aged rum, which I'm sure many of you have tried, the 8-year-old 46% and the 8-year-old 60%. And in 2023, and I didn't realize this until I was thinking about it, and I have a witness here with me, Mikhail and I and our friend Christoph, we were staying in the Great House, and we were having dinner with the family, and it was very much the traditional old style aristocratic dinner. A dinner table for 24 people. You had the servants bringing out the different courses of dinner. All of the silver was set up very properly. Everything was very precise, according to our hostess, Ruth Hussey, who was the matriarch of the Hussey family. And she was sitting to my left, and next to her was her son Andrew, who's the chief officer of Everglades Farms and as the owners of Hampden Estate. To his left was Christelle, and now her husband Matthew to her left, and to my right was my friend here, Mikhail, and to his right, our other friend, and then Peppy Grant, who operates the Hampden Estate as the plant manager. The reason I say all of this is because there's a great story behind this. So in 2023, our 3-night stay at the Great House inspired something truly amazing. And I mean, I honestly, it brings tears to my eyes when I think about it, because I am now forever lodged into the DNA of Hampden Estate rums. We're having dinner, and we had a bottle of DOK, 4-year-old DOK, that was in a PX cask at 78%, and it's going around the table, and we're starting to feel pretty loose. You know, you're getting kind of loose. It's around 10 o'clock at night. Dinner's done. The drinks are flowing. We're having a good time. And Andrew is a very modest guy, a very humble guy. He says, Robert, well, if you could do anything with our rum, what would you do? Well, I was feeling kind of rambunctious, a little flirty. And I looked to my hostess, Ruth, who's in her mid-80s now. I said, well, Andrew, you know, if I were you, I would dedicate a rum to your mother. And you have the Diamond Age at 900 to 1,000 esters. And you have the HLCF at 550. You know, what about something right in the middle? What about something, and let's call it R Diamond H, Ruth Diamond Hussey. We had another drink, everybody laughed, and then we went on a midnight tour of the estate and the distillery, and I didn't think about it again until we were there this year. And I asked Peppy Grant, I said, Peppy, whatever happened to that idea that we had about the R Diamond H? He said, oh man, we've been distilling it almost ever since you left. So, you know what? I don't want to take credit for it, but I want to say the inspiration of being there with beautiful people in this amazingly magical place that has been there for almost 300 years. Yeah, I was inspired. So I came up with the name R Diamond H and the kind of the concept of it, and now it's a reality. So that's my story. That's my R Diamond H story. Let's talk a little bit about esters, though. Yeah, enough about me. Let's talk about the rum again. Hampden is renowned throughout the world for its signature high ester rums, as well as the Hampden DOK. Now, remember, I told you, remember, Dermot Owen Kelly, DOK. Most people understand esters to be a distinctive pungent smell, bananas and pineapples and apples, fermented tropical fruits. Well, esters have nothing to do with the actual strength of the rum. They have everything to do with the bouquet of the rum. And esters aren't just found in rum. Esters are found in everything that we eat and drink. It's a natural, organic compound of acids and carbon, and in concert with the catalyst of water, produce these esters. At Hampden Estate, they produce these complex and sweet and very much unforgettable aromas. Here's to give you an idea of some of the Hampden marks. We start with OWH, which is the base rum of Hampden Estate, which they use for most of their commercial rum goes out as this. LFCH, Lawrence Francis Close Hussey. Lawrence Hussey is Christelle grandfather. It's the husband of Ruth Hussey, who passed away, I think, about 10 years ago. El Rock, which you're all familiar with. Light rum, Owen Kelly. So again, Owen Kelly, but it's the light stuff. HLCF. Now we start to get into the esterific rums, right? Hampden Light Continental Flavored, 500 to 700 rums. Diamond H, 900 to 1,000 rums. I need to update this tabulka. I need to update it and put the R Diamond H in there. HGML, which, by the way, the HGML and the C Diamond H above it are both finalists in the daiquiri contest next Monday night with Chris and me. Tune in, be there, or be square. HMM, I can't talk to you about it. I'm sworn to secrecy. But the last one, the top, the highest ester rum out of the Hampden estate, the DOK, Dermot Owen Kelly. That we can talk about. But let's talk about fermentation very quickly to get it out of the way. The boiling house is devoted to fermentation. The wooden floors and tiny walkways are flanked by not dozens, 100 of these beautiful circular wooden vats where the fermentation happens. These wooden vats are almost 200 years old. Yeah. Natural wild yeast only. The biosphere around there, they grow papayas, they grow bananas. There's a horse farm. All of this miasma, all finds its way into the natural fermentation process. Once the alcohol fermentation is complete, the dead wash, which is done with this alcoholic fermentation, sits for another 2 weeks so the bacteria that's on top can ferment even further. Now they add in dunder and muck, which we'll talk about in just a couple of minutes. But let's move on. Here's some pictures of the fermentation. Now the picture on the left, you'll see there's a canal in the middle there. I can't tell you what it is now, but if you come to Jamaica with me, I'll let you know. I've been sworn to secrecy on that one. And that's not a sales pitch to get you to come to Jamaica with me. They told me not to talk about it. I can show you a picture, but I can't say what it is until you're there. Yeah, you can see, like I was talking about, these 200-year-old vats, these wooden vats, the lower right. You can see that, I mean, these things have been around for a long, long time. And then that beautiful, ugly, disgusting crust there in the top right. This is the crust that forms on top. This is all the dead yeast on top of the wash. But it becomes some of the most fragrant and amazing rums in the world, thanks to the now 6 pot stills that Hampden Estate has. Yeah, they use traditional double retort classic pot stills. Yeah, they have a couple of John Doors. In fact, Luca calls the John Door there the elephant. The 8-year-old Hampden is distilled on that. The Vendome dates back to 1994. It was under repair when we were there. The Forsyths, which there were 2 of when these pictures were taken, and the African TNT, these are big machines that run day and night. 5,000 gallons. What is that? Something like, 20,000 liters at a batch. And then just last year, they installed another Forsyth's pot still, and their production is up. They've built a second aging warehouse, and it's really amazing what's going on there. So we talked about dunder. What is dunder? Well, it's what's left after the distillation. You've got the heads and the tails. The common term for these remainders is stillage. A lot of Jamaican distilleries spread it across their fields. They use it for fertigation, and Hampden Estate does as well. But they produce so much of it that what they use for their distillations, again, is only a fraction of it. So they produce, I think it was something like 500,000 liters a month. They use 25% of that. They reintroduce that into the wash to help turbocharge the fermentation process, and the rest of it they use for fertigation. Now, there's something that's similar to this in the whiskey and bourbon world, and it's called sour mash. So when you're drinking a Southern Comfort or some Kentucky sour mash, that's the same thing. It's basically, it's American dunder, for lack of a better term. All righty. I know I'm talking an awful lot, and I'm trying to get through it. I'm looking at the clock on the wall, trying to get everything in time. I wanted you to meet Johnny Black Bud and John Crow Batty. Johnny Crow Batty, or Johnny Black Bud, is the vulture at the Hampden Estate, and John Crow Batty is the guy who's on the cover or the etiquette of the next sample we're about to drink. But let me tell you who John Crow Batty is. John Crow Batty, the vulture in Jamaica, they're prevalent. They're one of the most widely found animals on Jamaica. And they say you need to have the stomach of a John Crow in order to drink these rums. Not this rum per se, but the people who used to work at the distilleries, the workers, would steal the heads and the tails of the rums, which basically were poisoned, right? And at 86%. But these rums found their way into the culture of the people. They would use it for baptism of children. They would use it at weddings. If you were sick, no need to be sick, just a little overproof and you're okay. Yeah, so I want to get back to what I was saying earlier about full strength. Full strength spirits are really good for samples, but the character and consistency is just a bit too strong to drink it as a daily drink. So let's go ahead and pour our next sample here of the DOK, the John Crow Batty. This, by the way, was the first of our folklore series. The third and fourth were the rolling calf, which was a tekka. The rolling calf is a duppy, it's a ghost. And the fourth was Anansi. Anansi is a spider who can take many different forms, and he's a con man. In fact, it's thanks to Anansi that we have the stars, because he said that he conned the gods into spilling the stars across the heaven. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and enjoy this beautiful Warehouse number one overproof John Crow DOK. This makes an unbelievable daiquiri. In fact, we talked about it with Mikhail earlier. This is my favorite daiquiri rum. Yeah, I don't know why it didn't make it to the finals, Chris, but it's my favorite because it's kind of like the rum says, "Here, have some lime juice." Bam, 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 bam. It's so intense. It's everything. It's everything that you smell on the distillery floor at Hamden is in the aroma of this rum. Heavy pot still rum, 25 days of distillation, open distillation, 10 days of alcoholic distillation, then 15 days of dead wash acidic distillation. Oh, that's it. It transports me back to Hamden every time I smell it. Ah. Alrighty, so I invite you now to enjoy some John Crow DOK with me. Cheers.
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 You know,
A
it's
random
funny
question
because
when everyone is like still processing and in awe and in shock. How do you know so much about these legends and myths of Jamaican people, like Anansi, the River Muma, and all this stuff? Is it just random stuff people tell you over the drinks in Jamaica, or have you studied it like by yourself from some books?
I have no life. No, I'm only kidding. I'm a Jamaica file. I mean, you'll see, visit Jamaica and you'll see. It's once you're there, you want to go back and you want to be and my people on Jamaica, my drivers, the people at the distilleries, my friends in Kingston or anywhere else on the island, I'm in touch with them all the time. In fact, right now, I'm quite concerned because there's a last hurricane. We hope it's the last hurricane of the season. It's developing Hurricane Sarah, and there's a chance it might hit Jamaica. So I've been in touch with the people from National Rubs of Jamaica and the Appleton Estate as well. They say they're prepared for it. No, I just love everything Jamaican, and I wanted to understand more about the Jamaican people. And when you meet them, it's funny because, okay, it's a very poverty-stricken island, like most Caribbean islands. Yeah, it's only been liberated as an independent country for 62 years. Yeah, 84% unemployment. That doesn't mean there aren't a lot of people that are getting paid cash in hand, but on the books, 84% of the people don't have a taxable income. But the Jamaican people are extremely hardworking. Yeah, every one of them has at least 5 side hustles. I'll tell you a quick story. Tony, the toothless cab driver. First time I went back, 2019. Tony, the toothless cab driver. If you needed to be someplace at 11, you told Tony to pick you up at 10 because he would always come back say, "Oh man, I was out fishing. I got some beautiful fish that I want to sell you. Oh, I was at my sister's house, man. She's been recording some music. Don't you want to buy these cassette tapes of her? Oh, I was stuck in traffic, but the man sold me some mangoes. Don't you want to buy some mangoes?" These people, they don't stop, and but they're not overbearing. They don't push to the point where you feel that you're in danger or anything else. As I said earlier, you act like a jerk, people are going to treat you like a jerk. But if you act nice to people in Jamaica, they're warm, they're loving, and I wanted to know everything I could about them. So I started studying these things. And I thought it would be great to connect the rum with this folklore, and then bring it to people like you guys. Yeah, so you too could start your journey into Jamaica, and then we could share it together from time to time, like we're doing here tonight. So one more time, I'm going to finish my last sip, and we're going to move on. Ah,
Robert, I'm not sure. Robert, I'm not sure you mentioned that. Can you say some words about the law, about the highest esters on Jamaica? Do you know something about that? Why
well,
why Jamaica can sell higher ester.
Well, the reason why they can't sell esters over 1,600 grams per hectoliter being 100 liters, is what would happen was when they were taking these extremely fragrant rums at 86% and shipping them to England, and they were being taxed there. They realized in England, wait a second, these people are taking this rum that we're taxing once, and they're splitting it into four, and they're getting three times as much product out of it. So we need to find a way to regulate the amount of esters. So along with the Jamaican government, which at that time was the British government, they said, I think it was 1932, they said 1,600 esters will be the top level. So that way they would be able to tax everything based on that level of esters. And they knew exactly how much rum they would be able to produce out of that amount of liquid. Because previously they would ship rums at 4, 5, 6,000 esters. And you could take that and take that 200 or 400 liter barrel and make it into 6 times as much rum as was being taxed. So it wasn't about the fact that the esters were too high. It was about the fact that the government couldn't find a way to keep the people down. Sorry.
But is it drinkable? Like 5,000 esters, like for like some crazy gigs, assuming they would say above 1,600, like the tax is 10 times higher or something like that. Would it? Would it be nice to drink? I suspect they technically can produce it, they just cannot sell it. Like, so have you tried something like 5,000 esters?
I have. I tried both a Bajan rum from Barbados that was like 2,200, and it's funny because the guys on Barbados, they said, "Oh, the highest of rums, that's that Jamaican stuff, the stinky rums. We don't want to do that." But now that these rums have become popular, suddenly they're doing it as well. And
But is it Jamaica? Barbados gets just Richard Silk, who actually made such rum, but he still doesn't like it.
the Bajan rums, honestly, for me, the Bajan rum, maybe it's because of the distillation process, because of the fermentation process, it's not quite the same. They're very, very aromatic. But I've tasted Jamaican rum at 3,500 esters, and I don't know, it's difficult to explain. It was much more fragrant, but it almost had a little bit too much of a mealy taste, like it had gone too far. But maybe that's just my taste buds from drinking, 1,500, 1,600 esters for a long time. Maybe if I had 3,500 ester rum for a year, then I would think was fantastic. But it was a 3,500 ester rum. You open the bottle, you had to wash your clothes the next day, yeah, because you wake up the next morning and your clothes still. It's like being in a smoke-filled bar. You wake up the next day and your clothes still smell like smoke, or they used to back when they still allowed smoking in bars. And it's the same way with rums that are that extra fragrant. It's so aggressive that it just kind of permeates everything. It's almost too much. I think actually, to answer your question in a simple way, I think 1,600 is a great limit, because when you go too far above that, it's overwhelming for your senses.
Yeah, but like there are always few degenerates, like people who like Octomore in whiskey. Like that is not normal. This is like idea to be overwhelmed, but some people are into that. So it's like that's a shame they don't offer it as like a rare, weird, expensive option.
Well, I mean, it's against the law. So if you want to come down to the distillery and you want to talk to Pepe and we make a deal, maybe you can get something and try it. But honestly, I mean, 1,600 ester DOK, and if you get it at 86%, it's really the 3,000 ester is not going to be any better than that.
But
You
isn't
know,
it like the level of esters? Like it's not the same thing, just more. It's like spectrum of colors. Like let's say here you have mango, here you have pineapple. Similarly, at 1,600 you have DOK, and like at 3,500, like you have, like you said, like I know, rotten meat or something.
But that's kind of what it is. I mean, take all of the aromas and sensations that you get from 1,600 and then double it. It doesn't. I don't think you start to get newer aromas or newer smells. It just intensifies the smells that are there by two. Like one of the wonderful things I love about drinking DOK, and people think I'm nuts. They go, "What do you smell, Robert?" Well, I smell the distillery room floor. I smell the dusty road on the way to the distillery. But that's, again, it's the sense memory of putting together the trip there and drinking the rum. But once you go above and beyond. I think honestly that you're just getting the same thing, but more intense. Yeah, but that's so, you know what? I want to answer more questions, but I want to move on so we have a little bit of Q&A at the end. So this is another quick story. So when we were visiting in 2022, it was Yiji Rabel and I, and we were sampling overproof rums, and we thought, what else should we do? Okay, well, let's go to the bar because we haven't had enough to drink. So we went there for a couple of overproof and tings, which turned into more than a couple, which turned into more than a few, which turned into, oh my goodness, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I don't know where I am. So to put it politely, I had to go to the bathroom. So I walk into the bathroom and I'm doing my thing, and I look there, and right in front of me is this metal sign that you see on the screen. And I'm kind of trying to focus on it. Oh, Trelawney explosion. I think, yep, that's what's going on in my head right now. The Trelawney explosion. Oh, Burwood Beach. Oh, I've been there. Trelawney explosion. Trelawney explosion. You know what? That would be a fantastic name for a rum. So call it serendipity, because sometimes you find inspiration for great ideas in the wildest and weirdest of places. Our next sample is the Diamond H that comes from our Trelawney Explosion box, which the second two rums all will be featured on Monday night, the HGML and the C Diamond H. And as you see right there on the box, we warn you of extreme Trelawney flavors. Okay, so open your box or get your sample ready.
Glass?
I haven't. I'll use this one. That's okay. I'll use the same glass because I'm not as hardcore as you guys. I need to remain relatively sober. But like I said, you know what? Honestly, drink half the sample and save it for a cocktail. I brought all those mixers with me, guys, and we haven't had a cocktail yet. I think we're gonna raise a rumpus when we're done. In fact, in Jamaica, raise a rumpus means we're gonna have a great party. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the Trelawney Explosion Overproof Diamond H rum. The Diamond H is the core rum of the Hampden Estate. This is the rum that they export the most to Germany, to the United States, to other places. And the Germans use it in just about every rum product that they have to different degrees. Some products, it's the base where they want something that's extremely aromatic. In other products, it's just a little tiny bit. In fact, there's these wonderful chocolates that they put out that are rum balls. I've forgotten the name of the brand, but it's a mix, I believe, of both Hampden Estate and Worthy Park inside of those chocolates. I'll get you the name. I'll send it to Chris so you guys can go out and get it for each other for Christmas. So here we are. This is 900 to 1,000 esters. And the thing I like about this rum the best is the explosive ripe pineapple that you really taste both on the nose and on your palate. I like to take this rum and I add it with pineapple juice and a little bit of ginger beer with a couple of bitters on top and then a squeeze of lime. And I call it a pineapple grenade because if you drink 4 or 5 of them, you're going to have a good time. So let's go ahead and enjoy this. What is it? Our second to last sample? Third to last sample of Trelawney Explosion Overproof Diamond H. Now, it's not as intense as the DOK because the fermentation process is a little bit lighter. It's only 3 days of alcoholic and 7 days of aesthetic. But on the nose, right away, for me, it's just that ripe, juicy pineapple. But now remember, each of your nostrils has a different amount of sensation. So again, na zdravie. Immediately for me, the nosberry. The nosberry is a small Jamaican fruit. It's similar to a plum, but it's green and it's extremely sweet. But the nosberry and acetone combined. There's definitely a note of papaya, And as you enter the Hampden Estate, you go down the long entrance road. Here's the distillery, and behind it is a papaya plant, not plantation, but a papaya vineyard, for lack of a better expression. It's about 2 or 3 acres, 1 hectare of papaya, and you can be sure that the notes of papaya that we taste in this are from that natural biosphere and all that papaya pollen that finds its way into the wash. This is the traditional Hamden rum. You'll find it in just about every other rum that uses Hamden around the world. But for me, this is its purest state. Like I said, in a cocktail, it's great. It's also fantastic all by itself. Any notes from the audience?
Don't be shy. Anyone? Kto pierwszy, kochani?
That's okay.
Much. It's after this explosion we had a minute ago. It's so mild. I don't think it would be that mild if we started with it, but it smells like perfume. It doesn't smell like something you consume. It smells like something you bathe in.
I try to, but my wife gets pretty upset about that. It's like you keep the rum in the kitchen in the basement.
Expensive bath as well, so I'd be
Well,
ready to pull that.
Theoretically, if you jumped into a bath of this, you would last about 90 seconds. Yeah, because as it permeated through your skin, you would feel really good.
I'm Polish. That make it
Then you wouldn't
120.
feel anything. You're my kind of girl. I like that. Oh, let's get together for a diamond age bath. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, this is a family show. Let's keep it civil, Bob. Alrighty. I'm blushing. I don't do that very often. So, yeah, we've left the Hampden Estate and we travel across Trelawney from the northwest corner of Trelawney back towards the east central part of the parish to the Long Pond Distillers. Now, again, as I mentioned, everything is intertwined in Jamaica. So you have the Long Pond Distillery, but immediately to the north of that is the Long Pond Sugar Factory. The Long Pond Sugar Factory is owned by the Hampden Estate, but the Long Pond Distillery is owned by National Rums of Jamaica, Demerara Distillers Limited, and Masson Ferrand. Now, when the fire happened, the tragic fire that happened back in 2018, the people at the Long Pond Distillery blamed the people from the Long Pond Sugar Factory, saying that their bagasse, the leftover remnants from the sugar production, started fire and caused the fire in the distillery. But you know what? We're not going to point any fingers anywhere. So in 2018, I think many of you are aware of it. There was a horrific fire at the Long Pond Estate. They lost all of their fermentation room. They lost all of the rum that was aging. And it has been meticulously rebuilt. There's a guy who I want to mention by name here who gets a bad rap with some people in the business. Alexander Gabriel, he and I have agreed to disagree on many aspects of the Jamaican GI about what's allowed with Jamaican rum and what's not. But to this day, we're friends and we don't have to worry about it. We're not, there's no enmity between us when I talk about what I believe and what he believes. But what I will tell you this is that man has painstakingly brought artisans from Mexico and brought the original wood that was made with those fermentation tanks over 100 years ago, and painstakingly using the same raw materials and the same craftsmanship are rebuilding that fermentation area to hopefully somehow find and create that same biosphere that helps create Long Pond's unique fermentation process. When you're walking up around the fermentation tanks, which again, and this is a soft sell. If you come to Jamaica with me, you get to do that. Yeah, you're going to see that they have very, very simple but very direct notes on some of the fermentation tanks. The one on the left, save for tech, do not use. It's 5,000 gallons of fermented wash. You know, what else are they going to use it for? So they have 6 pot stills at the Long Pond estate. 2 of them are John Doors. They've got a couple of TNTs, and I'm not sure about the other 2, but only 2 of them are in operation right now. And the one that you see not in the foreground, but behind it, our next rum, the Tech that we're going to drink. Our next rum was actually distilled on that still. Now, if you'll see, again, our founder and of the company, he's a graphic artist, so he did a very fine representation of that same pot still from a different angle. Let's talk about some of the distilleries that were on Jamaica before we all started to follow Jamaican rum. In the turn of the 20th century, there were 105 distilleries on Jamaica. Today, there are 6. That 105 in the turn of the century produced about 15 million liters of rum. Today, the 6, yeah, that's 6. The 6 that are left produce close to 35 million liters. Now, National Rums of Jamaica, which are the main partner and 1/3 owner of the Long Pond estate, they also have Clarendon. Some of the rums that come out of Clarendon you might be familiar with: Captain Morgan's, Myers, and many other rums. They have 14 million liters of rum that goes to export. The Long Pond distillery, on the other hand, after the fire, has been having a bit of difficulty reproducing that biosphere that I was talking about and creating some of these heavy pot still rums again. I have been promised by Martha Miller, the director of NRJ, by Michael Dunkley, the COO, by Robert Gordon, their master blender, that I will eventually get Tech B, because many of us are familiar with Tech A and Tech C, which we're about to drink. But where is the elusive Tech B? Well, we're not sure when we're going to get it, but you can count on this. We'll be the first ones to get it, and we'll bring it to you. So let's talk about technical
Was it never
ecstasy.
bottled? I have like some vague reminiscence of someone, maybe Valier, bottling it once.
Well,
I'm absolutely
Valier,
sure nobody ever did Tech B.
nobody has produced Tech B. Nobody.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but Velier had the white box series, and those were Luca's stocks that he bought, but and managed to bottle very soon before the fire. Now imagine this: Luca lost something like close to 1 million liters of rum. All of that amazing STCE and Vale Royale and Cambridge and Tekka that he had in the white boxes. We would have seen much more of that, but unfortunately, the fire consumed it. So we're going to get there. Yeah, trust me, we're going to get there. I'm looking at the clock on the wall. I'm running out of time, so I got to stop pontificating and start drinking rum. All righty, so let's go to technical ecstasy. Yes, I did find my inspiration from the 1977 Black Sabbath album of the same name, because it's a very technical rum, and it brings me a little bit of ecstasy. So forgive me for being a joker. This is the most esterific rum that is produced in the Long Pond estate. And one good nosing of it, you'll see exactly what I mean. Yeah, is model airplane glue. Not that I ever smelled it myself. But it's interesting. On top of the airplane glue, I also have mint and vinegar. And that's
leather.
You get some sour
leather, yes.
or no?
You know what I used to call the leather, and the first time I said this, the audience looked at me like, dude, you're really perverse. Vinyl car seat. How many times were you sitting in the back seat of your parents' car and you're sitting there and said, hey, I wonder what this seat tastes like? And you licked that vinyl. Well, now you can remember all those wonderful days of childhood by drinking Warehouse One Technical Ecstasy, 1,500 esters. Yeah, this is dangerous rum because you start drinking it and you don't want to stop. It's a session rum. Last time I opened a bottle of this amongst friends, we finished it, which was a good thing. Sort of. We didn't have to work the next day. Anyway, I digress. To all of you out there, and to those of you in here,
Cheers.
Oh wow!
It's a
The
very
smells reminds me my childhood. You know.
What do you
Right.
mean?
What the modern airplane blew?
What are you from
Have you been
How many
doing?
planes? How many planes
I
did you
was
blew?
I was model maker.
Yeah.
When I smell fuel from the back. Oh,
Perhaps it was
nice.
a bit of an
Fuel from the
overkill.
back. Okay.
But you know, as I mentioned there in the notes and the slide and in the finish, if you run your tongue over the top of your palate, I taste bubblegum.
Bubblegum.
Exactly.
For me, it's spices. Like
It's a
you have in
little
the
smoky
presentation of
also.
Carmen, but like
It's Bazooka Joe.
Yeah.
But you know, one thing, and I want to mention this, and I'm sure that Chris has done it in some of the other tastings. If you don't have the same notes that I have, or as Alan, or as Mikhail, it doesn't matter because everybody's palate is different. There's going to be some flavors that we share because they're so intense that there's no getting away from them. But everybody has their own sensory perception. So you have your own journey. There's the shared journey, and then your unique journey. And don't worry about it. It's all good. You know?
I don't
Yeah,
know
I
if you
wa-
know, but Krzysiek should tell you that if you are telling us about, I don't know, 1500 or 1600 of level of esters, for us it's like, okay, can we get more? So we are like a family, maybe not a room tasting or room exploring club, but we are like rum aceton lovers club, something like this. So the more the better. So yeah, we are like you. So we definitely
I
on
have
your
some nail
side.
polish remover. I can send you a bottle if you want.
If you get really desperate, you can always go to Druggy Mart and they can help you out. But all joking aside, I'm gonna take these notes, whatever you tell me. I'm gonna take it when I talk to the people on Jamaica. I'm gonna let them know. And who knows? I mean, last time I mentioned something, they did it. So maybe we can do something. It's not going to be higher esters because they can't release it out of Jamaica. But in 2026, I want to take a busload of people to Jamaica with me. And maybe then we can have something that's above and beyond, something that we can say, forget about it. Yeah, it's something that'll be special just for us. But speaking about things that are just special, you know, these marks that celebrate the historic Jamaican sugar estates, many of them no longer exist. Like the Tilston Estate. This is a picture I took. I went to the Tilston Estate, and just around the corner of that first kind of sugar drop hills is the Tilston Estate Great House. Now, when I say Tilston Estate, I'm talking about Tecca's, right? Because it's Tilston Estate Continental A, Tilston Estate Continental B, Tilston Estate Continental C, what we're drinking right now. And I had one of those moments as I was there in the field, the sugar cane. Again, maybe it was inspired by a little bit of extra overproof rum. I thought, you know, all of these fantastic marks, nobody knows about them. They're legendary. You know, we should age them and I don't know, maybe we should call them legendary marks. And that's what we did. I went to Jakub. I said, Jakub, I need something special. I need a label that's going to show me everything that I need to know about Jamaica. I need cockpit country. I need the water. I need the sugarcane, the palm trees, the sunshine. I need the barrels. And he did it. I think they're very handsome labels. In fact, I'm very proud of these. We started with a 1-year-old Tekka and a 1-year-old DOK for Salon de Rome in Belgium. We did that last year. And then the later last year, we released the DOK, a 1-year-old DOK in the Czech Republic. This year, we released a 2-year-old Tekka in the Czech Republic. And I had some interesting feedback. Now, I believe that you guys will probably have something different to say than what I heard from the Czech community. But they came back to me and said, well, why am I paying this much for a rum that's only 2 years old? And I thought to myself, well, you're not paying this much for a rum that's only 2 years old. You're paying this much for a rum that tastes this good. Yeah. And Michal was there. You tasted some of the first rums that we
Yep.
had. It's an extremely well balanced rum. You're going to have the opportunity to taste it in just a minute. And this year, as Chris will tell you, released a 2.5-year-old Worthy Park Extra, which is extra. A 2-year-old we released is fantastic. This goes a little bit further because we've been aging everything in virgin oak. Give me 2 minutes here to talk about my aged rums. I have 160 barrels of rum aging right now, which in the scope of Maine and Shear and Vellier and other people, it's not a lot of rum. But for a little operation like ours, it's 32,000 liters of rum that's aging. And not only 32,000 liters, it's 11 different marks from all the different distilleries on Jamaica. So we will be releasing this in years to come. And I'm not going to put the age statements on it anymore because honestly, it's not about the age. It's about the flavor of the liquid in the bottle. So I want to invite you now to join me.
Robert Baraba want to ask something.
Please do.
Sorry, I forgot to lower my hand. I only wanted to say that during tasting this the technical ecstasy, this is the first time I was having a very similar feeling, like drinking the grape spirits that are made in the Central and Southern Europe.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's somewhere
Like
between
rakia or something like that.
rakia or slivovice or merunkovice
Palinka.
or grappa. It has in essence I mean we call it here the domasi palerki.
Domasi Palenka.
Domasi palenka. I guess it's probably quite similar in
Palinka.
Poland. Yeah, so it has that same type of flavor because of the raw and very powerful flavor of the liquid. Yeah, I mean, I know that the grappas, some of the grappas, the Moscatos and the Chardonnays are a bit more delicate. But when I taste Borovichka for the first time from some guy's basement in Slovakia, you know, or the very good aged Hruškovice, the very aged pear brandy, they remind me a lot of these spirits. Now, the great thing is, now we're going to taste this amazing 2-year-old Tekka. Tekka, of course, is Tilston Estate Continental A. It's 1,200 to 1,300 esters. And I'm glad that you brought up the point that you felt like you were drinking something from Central or Southern Europe, because when you drink this, you're going to see that it has a lot of the same notes as those Domazi Palenki. Alrighty, so let me move my slide here. Lady, because I think there's only one of you out there, and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to one of my prizes. This is our 2-year-old Tilston Estate Continental A. Now, we age in virgin oak. Virgin oak is a very, very thirsty wood. In the first year, we had close to 5% angel share. In the second year, we had close to 4%. And I was simply amazed because Tekka, as most of us know it, in its raw form, like our rolling calf, or even in the much more aged expressions, like what Luca did with the 10-year-old and 12-year-olds. Yeah, it's more of an ugly, kind of deep, nasty, dark, monstrous rum. This, my friends, is nothing short of a miracle, because when I got it, I thought they must have given me the wrong barrel. Yeah. So let's go ahead and nose it together. For me, when I was a kid, we used to have, there would be like a thing of caramel, and we would take the apple and we would stick it into it and swirl it around. And you would take that first bite, and it was the caramel and the citric acid from the, or not citric acid, but the acid from the apple together. That's what I smell on the nose. So
Yeah, I feel like condensed milk in the tube, you know, some sweet.
it is. It's amazingly sweet. And yeah, now let's remember,
Yes.
this is known as some of the most intense and, for lack of a better word, ugly rums out of Jamaica. Yeah, it's not a rum for the faint of heart. But yet, this rum, even my wife tried it, and she thought it was a little bit high, too high in alcohol for her, but it was very flavorful. So let's go ahead and drink this one together because it's honestly, I take a great deal of pride in this and all of the barrels that I plan on bringing you in the future. So to you gentlemen here in the studio, cheers.
Cheers.
And cheers to all of you out there. Respect. I go back to what I said at the beginning of the presentation. All that is good and pure from Jamaica. I get on top, I get a kind of the cherry brandy, as they call it here in the Czech Republic, Třešnovice. But then I get a little bit more of leather. Yeah, there's a little bit of that kind of saddle leather type of, but then clove and some oily notes. Not too much acetone. There's a tiny bit of the acetone on top, but only in the very top, in the back of your palate. You know, the funny thing is, you guys get to do this because you're alone and I don't see you. You know, you do it with you, rub your tongue around your mouth because every time you make a movement through your palate, you're going to strike up different taste sensations.
But if I start doing that, my dog will come over here to check what I'm trying to taste. So, you know,
It tastes like some sparkling.
When I move my tongue across my palate, I taste sweetbreads. We have this bread here in the Czech Republic. It's a sweet bread. It's called lopak. Yeah, it's a kind of a sweet rolik, and I get that kind of sweet pastry, but there's a tiny bit of fruit on top.
I get mostly marzipan and cherries.
Cherries for sure.
Amazing in a cocktail.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. And you know, the unfortunate thing is we didn't make any cocktails. I have plenty of cocktail ingredients outside. I brought ginger beer, I brought grapefruit soda, and of course, let me jump back to the white rums. The drink on Jamaica is called Overproof and Ting. Ting is a grapefruit soda that's made by the Pepsi Cola Corporation, and any overproof with Ting is an absolutely amazing drink. We use Fever Tree being a much more civilized brand than Ting. Ting is kind of I don't want to say commercial, but I guess that's actually what it is. So, but you try any of these with a grapefruit soda, it's fantastic. With ginger beer, with ginger beer will rock your socks. Yeah, so you have your dram and your Tekka with ginger beer next to that. You can have a party all by yourself. Okay, but Alan, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I get this fantastic merger of caramel and orange peel and mushroom with this.
Now, it's funny you would mention mushroom because I, unlike all Czechs, absolutely hate mushrooms. And so, but there's this murky kind of note in the top of your palate.
Like morel mushroom,
Yeah.
which actually, France and Italy, they'll use that with not just with food, but with desserts. The morel mushroom.
Really, they use morels in dessert.
Yeah, they'll make a tart out of it in the mountains. Like,
Now, let me ask you a question. We were talking about earlier about baking. Would you bake with this?
absolutely. This to me is the most versatile of all the six because you can drink it alone, you can make it into a myriad of cocktails, but you can also use it extensively in cooking both on the cuisine side and on the dessert and pastry side.
Fantastic.
It's
And
fantastically
I guess
versatile.
pairing as well, pairing it with any dessert that would fit because you could use it to bake with a dessert, or you
Right.
could use it as a pairing with the dessert.
Right. And it also has this wonderful quality where I can see using it with lighter, more delicate flavors, but also using it with more earthy, more like summer fruit, exotic fruit
Yeah,
flavors.
absolutely. Summer
It would
fruit
stand
flavor,
up to any of those
Sure.
things.
Like the heavy melon flavor.
Right, exactly.
Now-
Really, really just fantastic versatility.
As I mentioned, we got a half an hour left, so we got plenty of time at this point. Mikhail was one of the first people to taste it and review the rum, so I want to hear your notes again now that it's been 6 months since the first time you tasted it.
No, it's like for me, it was amazing how different it was just after 2 years of aging in the barrel, like in comparison with the unaged rum, and how much sweeter it is in the aroma on the nose. But at the same time, like you get much more spiciness in the notes and in the aroma. And like when I was telling you just like 10 minutes before the stream started, like I have all of the bottles from the unaged and from the warehouse Jamaican expressions. I made daiquiris from all of them, and this is one of the most interesting ones
that
I've made.
Now that's something that I didn't think about. Mikhail has made a daiquiri with this. So it's kind of like a little bit of a dirty daiquiri. Yeah? And it's got to, color-wise, it's got to be...
Like you wouldn't, like, for sure, this wouldn't win the first place in a daiquiri competition because...
Of course it would. No, I want to get
it doesn't taste like the original daiquiri or how, well, theoretically, the original daiquiri should taste.
Maybe this is a question for Chris, and we could talk about it once we finish up. You know, are we looking for the original daiquiri taste? Are we looking for the original Trader Vic's Mai Tai? Are we looking for those? Or are we looking for the hybrid of what we taste today? Because I want to say one thing that Mikhail told me, and this was 6 months ago when he tasted it, is that it's incredibly balanced. And that's something like the white rums. The white rums can be pretty difficult for your friends who drink Don Papa. Let's face it, you know? And we all have them. Yeah, we don't like to invite them over for drinks, but we have them, and sometimes they show up uninvited. So you break out stuff like this, and even those people who drink sweetened rums, adulterated rums, can find a rum like this something accessible because it's so well balanced. The alcohol and the flavor seem to match so well.
Yeah, and what you mentioned, like also was interesting because like usually the unaged ones are at 60, are bottled at 63%. This actually is 64.4, which is what the barrel did.
Sure.
Which is such an interesting story, and from a chemical perspective, very strange. That
well, actually, but with this one, what happens is we bottle, or rather we cask at 65 ABV. Now, this is 64.4. So over 2 years, it's lost 6% or 0.6% of its alcohol volume, but it's lost almost 9% of its liquid volume. Yeah, the majority of that was water. Now, the WPE that we released recently for Spa du Rhum in Belgium, it was 65.5. Now, when I received the metrics for it, I wrote back, I said, wait a second, guys, this can't be right. There's no way. We cast it 65. How is it 65.5? And they said, Robert, it's simple. What happened was more water than alcohol evaporated, and the ABV actually increased. So we hope that that's going to be the case with the majority of the rums that we're aging right now. And as I mentioned earlier, the WK is being aged. All of the marks that we have a small amount being aged, some more than others. Yeah, Tekka we've got plenty of, WPE, STCE, DOK, MLC, which is a rum we haven't mentioned. That's the highest ester rum out of Clarendon. I also have a couple of rums that we recently purchased from the people at NRJ, rums that have never been released ever. Yeah, we're going to bring them to you in a white expression, but then we're going to age them as well. And these are rums that are brand new, that have never been seen before. So we're going to be the first ones to bring them to you. I want to kind of wrap things up because then we can take some questions. We got about 20 minutes left where we can talk. You know, the reason we bring you these pure Jamaican overproof rums is to bring you closer to the island of Jamaica, closer to the sugarcane fields, closer to cockpit country, closer to the wonderful fruits like ackee, the national fruit of Jamaica. Yeah? And things like this, the deep, verdant jungles, that earthy smell. Remember, 96% of the island is jungle. Waterfalls everywhere. Actually, you know what? Okay, little Jamaican trivia for you. The town of Ocho Rios was not actually called Ocho Rios. It was called Las Ocharias, right? Remember, the Spanish conquered Jamaica first. The British and the Spanish fought. The Spanish left. The British said, Las Ocharias. They must be saying there's 8 rivers, so we'll call it Ocho Rios. Well, that's not what they meant at all. Las Ocharias in Spanish means waterfalls. Yeah, and in the area of Ocho Rios, you have Dunn's River Falls, there's White River Falls, there's several different giant waterfalls, and that's how the town actually became to be named Ocho Rios. The original name from the Spanish is Acharias. Another one, and this is quite interesting, and you were talking about earlier, I have no life. So I looked these things up, is Montego Bay. It sounds so very civilized, doesn't it? Montego Bay. Where are you going? Oh, I'm going for some drinks in Montego Bay. But it's actually Manteca Bay, because when the Spanish arrived in 1493, imagine traveling across the ocean for 2 months and living on dried food and rum, of course, but just dried meats and meal and things like that. And when they reached this gigantic bay, yeah, it was full of wild pigs feeding on the beach. And how do you say wild pig in Spanish? Manteca. So Manteca Bay was what the Spanish called Montego Bay. And the British took over and said, oh, no, old boy, we can't have it be called Manteca. What is a Manteca anyway? So we'll call it Montego. Montego sounds very prim and proper. I joke because honestly, Montego Bay is a lovely name, but Manteca was the original name. I digress. So we bring you the jungle of Jamaica. We bring you everything that's pure from Jamaica. The feeling of this, watching the fishermen go out very early in the morning, waiting on the beach for them to bring back their catch so we can take it back to our bungalow and grill it for dinner. Yeah, the beauty of watching the sunset in Black River. It's all so amazing. Warehouse #1 Jamaican overproof rums and legendary marks. Goodness and purity in every single glass. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for joining us here tonight. And let's have a little conversation.
Wait. People ask me about cocktails. Because some of them prepared with some mixer.
Okay, if we have some of the, tell me what ingredients do we have? Who has the ingredients and what do you have? Tell me.
Robert, please, can you say some tips about the cocktails, what to add to each rum, and probably some of us will do that later.
Maybe about ginger beer and grapefruit.
Well, okay, not ginger beer and grapefruit. Let's start with what I talked about.
Mango also. Mango
okay,
also, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
okay,
pineapple.
Ananas, pineapple. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Everywhere in the world, they call pineapple something as a variation of ananas, except for in America, where they call it pineapple, and on Jamaica, they just call it pine. Here, man, here's some pine, like pine, like doob, like a pine tree. Okay, so if you have some of the cocktail ingredients, what I mentioned earlier was the DOK. I would take the DOK and add pineapple juice to that, which is a fantastic cocktail all by itself. Yeah, rum and pineapple, any of these overproofs of pineapple will go really well. But the DOK the most, because the pineapple juice has that bitter acidity, but very sweet. And also the DOK is intense enough to push through that. But so that's one cocktail. And then you can add on top of that. So let's say you do a very healthy shot of DOK, 4 centiliters of DOK. And then you can do on top of that 4 centiliters of pineapple juice. And then 2 centiliters of ginger beer. Yeah, that's a very.
Wait.
That's one. That's one.
So that's
How much?
a single
How
cocktail,
much?
right?
How much of rum?
40 rumu, 40 soku, 20 piwa imbirowego.
Bring them.
Dokładnie, ale jak już wypijesz, to
Języku
będzie
od razu jest
20,
łatwo.
no.
To trzeba jeszcze liczyć teraz, to już odpuść sobie.
Zrób
No,
od
liczenie
razu
jest proste.
podwójnego.
Duży, mały.
Zrób od razu
Duży,
podwójnego.
duży, mały.
No ale tak po barmańsku by było, nie?
O, tu mamy gdzieś barmana, gdzie tutaj się
Nie
schował?
no,
Tu coś
barmanka
nie
jest, ale
narysował.
chora
Tego.
niestety.
Jest
Chyba to
jeszcze?
widzisz, nie? Tory niestety nie ma.
No właśnie, jest mały, jest duży. To
Jest
No,
mały, jest
duży,
duży, no.
mały. To prawie jak w kole gry
40,
komputerowej.
20 into the big one, the small one. We
You don't use it.
Taki mały, taki duży może w koktajl iść.
Yeah,
Tak.
Robert, you
Like this.
don't have to say the
Bart is
numbers.
the
Just say the
language.
big, the
Take the
small.
bottle, you take the glass, you go 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, then
1,
I'll
2,
give you
3, 4.
That always works. That always works so well.
works for me. My illustrious colleagues are going to bring me the ingredients here. We'll mix cocktail together. It's so anyway, so I recommend that the DOK with pineapple juice and ginger beer. I recommend the WK or the Tech with grapefruit soda. And the mango juice, I make a very special punch. Chris has had it several times. Dr. Bob's Jamaican juice punch. And I can't tell you all the ingredients, but I can tell you that mango juice and pineapple juice are in there, along with some other things. So let's go ahead and
Bring it.
okay. Alrighty, we've got 20 minutes left, so let's enjoy a cocktail together. Let's Mikhail, can you bring the pineapple juice, please? We got it. We got it.
Robert, I've got one question.
Sure.
By ginger beer, do you mean like a classic beer with ginger, or this like more like ginger ale?
I mean more the intense ginger beer, like this one from Fever
How
Tree.
many
Ginger
percent
ale to jest taka
to
kiepska
ginger?
wersja ginger beeru. Ginger beer często jest taki naprawdę lekko pikantny, to jest taka poważny gingerowy napój, coś w stylu ginger ale'a, ale to mniej więcej jak Sprite ma do wódki. No.
Ale nie piwo,
Tak,
nie?
Ale to ma coś alkoholu, czy
nie,
nie? Powiedz?
zupełnie nie ma nic z piwem.
Nie ma.
To nic,
No właśnie.
może mieć alkohol, ale ma nic wspólnego z piwem.
A ja mam taki, patrz, może być?
Mam coś takiego.
To taki jak do Dark and Stormy leją, nie?
No, tak do Dark and Stormy. O, Bundaberg lepiej, Bundaberg lepiej.
O, no to zrób.
You might have noticed that ginger beer is not the most popular drink in Poland, so we need to calibrate on what we mean.
It's not United Kingdom,
But,
right?
I was
I
able
think
to
what you
find
do-
one. So
New
this
You can, I
one,
mean,
Bundaberg is
Bojan!
never Ecuador.
Ginger, oh my God, what's that?
Yeah, that's Polish craft beer. No, regional beer, right? Damian,
Ginger
say
beer,
something.
that's very much.
Damian,
Yeah, do it.
Very much not
beer,
it.
right?
Don't do that, Bartek, don't do that.
Damian, we should speak about regional Polish beer and craft beer in Poland, and this
should
one
I
is
get a
mostly
day off
regional.
tomorrow then?
No.
Should I get a day off tomorrow?
use that one for your.
We can have a Bayan rum, but we can also have a Boyan beer.
Okay. Well, you know what?
What's
Bundaberg
that?
is okay. Classic old Jamaican ginger beer is good. Fever Tree is for me the best because it's the most piquant. Okay, so we have our DOK.
So, Robert, you're right now in Germany, or you also have the Rausch juices in countries other than
No,
Germany?
I'm in the Czech Republic. I'm in the Czech Republic in a small broadcast studio not
Yeah,
far
but
from.
Rausch brand is like when I see that it's like okay, Germany, and I was working in Germany, so
I buy Rausch because they have the most quality juices.
yeah, they have a great juices. So, but sometimes it can, be like tricky. Where are you right now in the world? Because you will not
I'm
find
right.
those juices in Poland.
You know what they as they say, it doesn't matter. No matter where you go, there you are. Okay, so I've got my shot of rum, a little bit of pineapple juice.
Have some ice, please.
See that we have good production quality here. We actually brought our own ice with us. We also have limes, but we don't have a knife.
So I think you should have like a YouTube channel with Chris, and then it will be like something great to have.
Chris and I can never be in the same room at the same time for more than a few hours because the world would explode. Yeah, we're just I want to thank Chris because when we were in Belgium together, I needed to take a break. I needed to use the bathroom. I needed to have coffee. I needed to have a little bit of lunch. And Chris and my friend Tom from Belgium, they took over my stand, and because they know enough about my rums, were able to take charge and treat my customers really well. So I want to thank Chris for that. Chris and I met for the first time at the Rum Festival in 2020, but it was very brief. And in 2021, when we released the 2-year-old WPE, we were up by Prague Castle, and Chris, as you know him better than I, he's the madman of rum. Yeah, nobody knows more than Chris. He came over to me and he was wheeling and dealing, trying to get a bottle of my 2-year-old because we didn't have it for sale there. So we did make a deal, and I realized that he was a kindred spirit in all things rum. Chris is much more diverse than me. I have decided, look, I'm an old man. I'm 62. Yeah. I have decided I don't want to drink anything else from Jamaican rum. Jamaican rum is my parqueta, as they would say in Czech. It's my dance floor. That's where I want to be. So I learned more and more about Jamaican rum, Jamaican history, and all things Jamaica. Chris, on the other hand, is much more diverse, and it shows in the name of his program, the Rum Explorer. So here we are. We've got the DOK with pineapple juice and ginger beer. It's a fantastic cocktail.
Cheers, Robert.
Cheers.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers, me.
I'd like you all to remember that Alan has given some really good tips on how you can use these rums for baking or pairing with different foods. Yeah, you can use them as an aperitif, very strong aperitif, or as a degustatia for something you as a digestive afterwards.
In a
So
sauce.
and sauce. Oh man, the sauce. Yeah. Wow. Could you imagine how this rum would make a beef sauce pop? Ooh. Yeah, a stroganoff or a goulash type of sauce with this in it. Man, that would be something special. All righty, it's my last drink of the evening, and we only have about 15 minutes here. So I want to thank you all for joining me tonight because honestly, we've been planning this for some time, and Chris has been immensely patient with me. We had some problems with the bottling, but we wanted to get you guys the best possible product that you could see. We want to give you the representation of what it is that we do and what we love. So with the cards and with the rums that you have, and with the presentation that I've given you here tonight, I hope you get a little bit better sense of how intensely and how dedicated we are to loving Jamaican rums and bringing those Jamaican rums to everybody around the world. But we don't have a Polish importer yet. Now, Chris told me that there are a few Polish importers that have been joining us here tonight. So, guys, to you, implicitly, the ones out there that could bring this rum to Poland, we have something very, very special that you can take advantage of. And yeah, let's talk. Yeah, you got my contacts.
Quick private person question: do you have a distribution in UK? I'm not an importer. I'm just like, what if I can buy it there and like bring it for some Polish people or something?
Well, I've discussed distribution with the UK with several of the larger importers, but the problem is, well, they screwed the pooch with Brexit. They really screwed the pooch because, believe it or not, I mean, rums that come from Jamaica directly to the UK are much cheaper than rums that come to Europe and then back to the UK because the tariff on the rums coming out of the EU to Britain are prohibitively expensive. So at this point, despite the fact that there's 800,000 Jamaicans in the UK, I can't get my rum there. I would love to. I really would, because I think they deserve it. And we bring rums to people that have never left Jamaica. And here's also a funny story. The fact is, I buy these rums in bulk from Jamaica. I bring them to where I age them. I bottle them, bring them to the Czech Republic, and then every year I have to bring my aged product back to Jamaica because these rums that we drink tonight, they don't have on Jamaica. Yeah, they never leave the distillery for anybody to consume on the island of Jamaica. you're consuming rums from Jamaica that nobody else has the opportunity to drink. So again, we're going to wrap things up because I see the timer says 10 minutes. So I've got enough time for just a couple of more questions. But then after that, I leave you to have your chat afterwards. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Yeah, it'll be online. I'm going to give Chris the recording from our studio here. I've got 4 different set up, so you can see these guys picking their nose when they weren't paying attention. And again, I want to thank you all, and I hope out there that you consider bringing our rums to Poland so the people that were here with us tonight have an opportunity to enjoy it, and that together, you as the importer and me as the manufacturer can bring these rums to people at Rum Love next June.
Do it as fast as you can.
As fast as we can. I like you, man. I like you.
Before Christmas.
Before Christmas.
That's something that
we need some rum to cook.
Well, we can meet at the border. We can meet at the border. Alrighty, do we have any questions? I'm looking at the clock on the wall. I got 10 minutes of video time left. So if you got something to ask, now is the time to ask it.
Yes, I have the question. How much ginger beer you add to your cocktail?
I do 4 centiliters of rum, 4 centiliters of pineapple juice, and 2 centiliters of ginger beer.
Duże, małe.
And do you adjust for the strength, or you just assume everything is roughly 60 for what that you release?
Everything we release is 63, except for the age. The aged product is usually 64 to 65.
Michał, ja ci odpowiem. Dobry kucharz gotuje na oko.
Tak.
No ja też
No właśnie tak patrzyliśmy, że...
Zrobiłem na oko.
Tak...
Identycznie jak budowlaniec.
No.
Budowlaniec nie może być na oko. Nie.
Ale
to się budowlanca absolutnie nie sprawdza.
We can say something like this, Robert. Like people are saying like big, small in case of how much alcohol you need to give, or 40, 20. But if someone likes football, you should be able to say like formation, like 4-4-2. And
4-4-2. Basic formation.
Basic football, right? Basic football to make drinks. Great.
2 strikers.
Football, or do you call it soccer?
I don't.
Sports.
Soccer is in the United States. We are in Europe.
Ja fandim Slavia Praha. Ja mam permanentki. Yeah, I have season tickets. I've been a Slavia fan for close to 10 years. My children reintroduced me to football. I played football in the 70s when it first came popular in the US. And I met this. Okay, now I'm gonna date myself. I'm gonna age myself. I met Pele. Pele played for the New York Cosmos, and my coach.
Oh, I did.
My coach.
Yeah, he played.
Yeah, Pele played for 2
like a
years,
career.
2 years. Pele played from 1975 to 1977 for the New York Cosmos.
So Pele make a football color, right?
Along with Franz Beckenbauer. And they used to practice, Alan, because we're from the same area. They used to practice at a place called Hofstra University. And I went there to the practice grounds and I met freaking Pele. Hans Beckenbauer was of no consequence to me because I didn't know who he was, but I knew who Pele was. Anyway, Slavia Praha, Červená Bílá Sila.
You know what football really is, not the football shape thingy.
Like Rob, I'm from the New York area, and I'm living here a long time, and I've told my best friend from home who is planning to move to Austria for his retirement, because he's also a big football fan. He also, watched the New York Cosmos all the way back in the day. And I was like, he asked me for advice. What's the most important thing you can tell me about living in Europe as an American? I was like, do not ever use the S word.
Yeah, don't call it soccer.
Football.
Never call it soccer.
Nothing.
Not a girl's sport either. No.
Nothing alienates Europeans faster than coming here and calling it that S name.
I watch you drinking there. You know what you're doing, don't you? Be careful.
I think calling American football is even worse than calling the real football soccer.
Oh, nice, Pablo.
No,
You're in
that's-
London, right?
Don't get me
And I
started.
thought
American
it's
football,
called
American
soccer.
football is a reflection. I'm sorry to interrupt you. American football is a reflection of American society. It's simulated war. Yeah. As George
Not me.
Carlin, a very famous comedian, said, in baseball, you have the sacrifice. In football, you have the blitz. You know, in baseball, the object of the game is to run home. Everybody, run home, run home. Football, you need to reach the end zone. Yeah. Okay. I've been following European football for a long time. And that's where I am. I'm in section 225, every Domaci Zapas. And you know what? Slavia Praha. Okay. We're down to the last 5 minutes, so let's go back to the rum. Everybody, I want to thank you very much. Yep.
Back to the
Go ahead.
questions. This weird mark that didn't have a name with it, MM, is actually top secret, or can we tell us anything about it?
Sorry.
Can you tell us
Tell us
when can we
anything in
expect some
June.
information?
No, I can't. Sorry. I can't.
Okay.
I can't. You come to Jamaica with me, bring that shirt. First of all, if you're going to come to Jamaica, bring that shirt for sure. And
I
Be
can
careful because he
size
can.
of shirts.
Be careful
maybe
what
The
you
next
eat.
year we come to you. The next
Or
year.
maybe
We have to,
Listen.
Robert, we have to talk about our trip next year to Jamaica.
absolutely.
So as we talked 2 months ago or a month ago in Prague. So
My
yeah,
trip
I want to organize
trip- My
Yeah.
trip in 2025, my winter trip in 2025 is sold out. Yeah, I could do a summer trip in 2025, which the difference is the weather is a little bit more unstable. Yeah, there's going to be more rain and things like that, but it's a tropics. That's what you get. When you go in February, things are drier. But when you go in June, it's a little bit more wetter. But the benefit of going in June is it's a little bit more affordable than it is in February. So if you don't want to wait until February of 2026, we can go in July of 2025. So Chris and I will talk about it. He'll distribute information to all of you. I'm looking at the clock on the wall. I now have 3 minutes. So I want to wrap things up with, look at this. Look at us. Here we are in the middle of Europe talking about this beautiful tiny island nation in the middle of the Caribbean. And it's very much in the middle of the Caribbean. It's quite isolated from the rest of the Caribbean. And it produces this amazing liquid that we all love so much. And when you get there and you meet the people and you taste the food and you have an opportunity to bathe in the waters and swim in the sea and absorb everything that's Jamaican, and then you come back to Europe, you'll never taste Jamaican rum the same way again. It'll always be going back to Jamaica. It'll always be that. So on that note, I want to thank you all for joining me. And if I went on too much with silly stories, that's my problem. But you know what? It's what I love, and I'm glad I could share it with you all tonight. So thank you all very much. Have a fantastic evening amongst yourselves, drinking. We're going to go out here in the lobby and have a couple of drinks. So to all of you, I say God bless and respect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very
you.
much.
Have a good
Thank you,
night.
Robert.
Have a
Bravo.
good evening.
Much.
well,
Thank you.
great
Bye,
night,
Robert.
Robert.
Take care, Robert.
Cheers.
And number
love.
3 was the best.
One love.
Which one was the best? Which one?
Number 3.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
The
Best thing I tasted.
fresh acetone.
Kochani, ja zapraszam was. Robert, we have to switch on Polish language now because we have after meeting now.
So
part,
much
so-
alcohol that it doesn't really matter which
It
language.
doesn't really matter. We can like have a jungle of languages. What you prefer, we can speak.
It's a universal language.
And this-
Yeah, exactly.
I think like Czech people and Polish people will be able to
Oh, certainly.
we understand
Obviously, yeah.
each other, so
We can
it's
understand.
no problem.
We can understand, but it's my honestly now that the clock is flashing red, so I do have to go. So again, thank you all so very much. Chris has my contacts. If you have any questions, if you have anything that you want to add to what we spoke about here tonight, feel free to contact me. Reach out to me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram as well, but I'm an old man, so I don't know how to use it very well. Jamaican Rums CZ. Yeah, but on Facebook, Robert Polo, I'm there, or through Chris, my email any questions you have, I'm happy to answer. I hope maybe we could go to Jamaica together and I could show you the reason why I love the island and her people and all of her rums so much. So I wish you all a fantastic evening. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you. Thanks, Robert. Thank you very much. Dobrze, to teraz zanim zaczniemy w ploteczki, to dajcie tutaj...
To co, zaczynamy na poważnie?
Poczekaj, Pedro, bo on musi wyłączyć Facebooka. Pedro, nie rozpędzaj się.
Czekajcie, bo to się
A,
wszystko...